In this remind video, I want to remind you of the following. Do not become sin-centered. Most people don't even know what sin is. They have the definition that church gave unto them, or some Bible preacher, or what the world defines as sin. Do you have other religions also having their concept of sin? Sin is the static way of thinking that fallen mankind has. And this will work out in relief seeking. And relief seeking will lead to patterns of behavior, which are iniquity. And when people resist salvation, they will make themselves worse and worse, and they will become hardcore relief seekers, which the Bible calls wicked. That's the wicked. You get what I'm saying here? So sin is a static way of thinking. That's the thinking people have. That's not the reprobate thinking, because in that fallen way of thinking, you can still reason, you can still have kindness and all of that. But someone that's a reprobate is completely out of line. By their own volition, that's a reprobate. And they're so out of line they don't even care anymore. That is a reprobate. So don't follow the teaching that everyone before they became born again was a reprobate. That's not true. Now look, the reason I'm telling you not to become sin-centered, because this is a false teaching that pagan Christianity has enforced on millions of people. I say millions, unfortunately. And that is that you need to work hard to overcome sin. Sin is a static way of thinking. You can only outgrow it by agreeing with Christ. And by outgrowing it, your walk will be different. You understand me here? To make it that you have to fight to overcome something, it's all by works. And it's by your own effort, so you're not relying on Christ anymore. And if you could upgrade yourself into a better version without the aid of Christ, that means Christ died for nothing, Christ rose for nothing, and the whole gospel is fake. The fact Christ had to come, had to die in your place and rise again, so you need to agree with him so that you can operate in his power. You get what I'm saying here? So, the reason I'm saying this is because too often when we judge something, where something is appropriate for us as believers or not, we look at, is it a sin? We are so sin-centered. Stop looking at sin. Okay? Look at the bigger picture. This is what I mean. In the Old Testament, you know, the Israelite people, they rejected being governed by Christ directly, so they received 10 commandments, and after that they wanted even more. They end up at 600 commandments. They just couldn't let go of the idea of law and order. They couldn't let go of this Egyptian mindset and embrace a Christ-centered mindset in which Christ himself individually and collectively rules them. That was the intent from the beginning, but they wanted to hold on to restrictions, hold on to toxic regulations and all of that. So, okay, so they had their bunch of commandments, but Christ tolerated this. But even through this attitude, Christ wanted to teach them something, because God will always take all opportunities to teach you something so that you will come back to him. Now look at this. Christ told the Israelite people, you can read it for yourself in the Old Testament, that once they are in the country they will possess, this land of Canaan, and they will desire a king over them. That means an earthly, male, violent entity to govern them. Christ knows everything, so he knew that in the future they would ask for one. He told them, make sure that king that you will select over you doesn't have multiple wives. And why did Christ tell them this? Because he told them, if he has multiple women, those women will turn its attention away from him. Look at that. Christ told them, if you want to have a leader, make sure the leader doesn't have much women that he's involved with. And Christ gave the reason. The reason he gave was, those women will be a distraction onto that leader and will keep that leader's attention away from me. So Christ didn't talk about commandments. He didn't say, I commanded this, so I don't want to have him have multiple wives. By the way, in that time, it was common to have multiple wives because men used to die much quicker than women, and a lot of women would be left alone. Not left alone, they would be all by themselves. So to make sure that women would use their reproductive systems as much as possible in a society where there were fewer men than women, some of the women had to be a second or third wife so that they, as a woman, could give birth to children and they would be provided for in their old age. So polygamy was an institution to regulate the seed reproduction amongst mankind. Of course, there was exploitation in it, and polygamy was only permitted with the rich, those who could afford it. So it was common in a time for someone with wealth, a man with wealth, to have multiple women. Christ said, don't let your king be like this because it will be a trap. Don't you notice here Christ didn't even talk about sin at all? He talked about it from a practical point of view. And here's the thing, if you have a leader and he's distracted by all those women, guess what? Whoever uses those women uses the leader. And he's your leader, right? So it will be very easy for Satan to come along and to influence those women to lead the king or the leader. And by doing that, Satan will have a grip on the population through that leader. So without you being aware of it, it's really Satan ruling you, but you still see the leader. But you think it's a leader leading you, but it's not the leader anymore. It's Satan leading you through that leader. And that leader isn't even aware that Satan is using him to lead you. So you're going in a direction Christ did not intend for you. And here's the thing. The population will not be aware they're being led astray. The leader may not intend to lead people astray, but he's being distracted by the enemy. You get what I'm saying here? Look, I did not want to make a video about polygamy and discuss the history and all of that about it. That's not the intention of this video. I just want to point out to you, Christ often, when he spoke to his people, he revealed the practical point of view of stuff. But pagan Christians have conditioned us to always focus on sin, sin, sin. They make sin this big monster that we need to fight. Well, what we should do is look up to Christ, agree with him, and walk in his power. I mean, pagan Christianity makes you so obsessed with sin. They exalt sin above the blood of Christ. Oh, man, you know what? I don't want to go deep into that. Just listen to what I'm saying here now. Look at the bigger picture. Look at things from the practical point of view. There are things that are not evil. There are things that are naturally good in themselves. But for you, in some contexts, they may not be beneficial. Okay, let me give an example now. Let's say you have some people you used to associate with during college, and now 10 years later you meet up again, and you kind of build a friendship back again. But here's the thing. You are a bank manager, okay? Not only man, you're kind of below the CEO, but you still have a high management position. Those buddies of college, some of them are involved in money laundering and all of that. They didn't tell you about it, you don't know that, but they are. The authorities know it. For you, as a sub-CEO, to be involved with those guys as friends on a friendly terms will not benefit you. Well, those guys will not harm you. They don't intend to harm you. Absolutely not. So you getting along with them is natural, but it will not benefit you. Is it a sin for you to relate to them on a friendly terms, on a peaceful terms? No, absolutely not. But it's not handy for you because you are a sub-CEO at a bank. In such practical terms, I want you to think. Not in terms of is it sin, is it not sin, or in all of that's bondage. Sin-centeredness is bondage. It's not Christ-centered. Think in a Christ-centered manner. It's then that you'll be able to see why the Lord removed and deleted certain people from you. And this, what I'm saying now, I really want to say it in another video, but I'll say it right now. Then you have two messages in one video. Christ will delete certain people from you without informing you, without giving you any hints, and often without explaining anything to you. Christ will just decide it's over. This is not continuing. This has to stop now. Christ will do it. And when it happens, certain people just disappear from you. And later you think, what happened? Sometimes you later meet those people on the street and they're very friendly towards you as if nothing happened. And you think, how can this be? You block me on social media, or you begin to avoid me, you stop answering my calls, and now you see me and you're not angry. It's as if nothing ever happened. What's going on? You're so confused. Now let me tell you here, Christ is not confusing you. The situation appears confusing to you because you don't look at the bigger picture. You don't understand what's going on. Christ deleted those people from you for practical reasons. He sees what you don't see. He sees that in the near future, those people are going to bind you. They're going to harass you with their worries and with their self-inflicted limitations. Right now, you don't see it. Christ sees it. So Christ spared you all that trouble by deleting them from you. Because Christ looks at things from the practical point of view. Look, there are things that are completely fine, but they may not be beneficial for you. They may be beneficial or neutral to someone else, but not for you. That's why it's important to be led by the Holy Spirit directly and stop relying on external authorities. External authorities have their purpose, and when it's appropriate, you listen to them, like traffic signs at the work and all of that. But external authorities have their limitations. Don't lean on them. Lean on Christ. That being said, be at peace.